Good evening and welcome to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with our friend Bob Dennis. Do you like to be called Bob or Robert?
Either one, as long as you call me.
Okay. So welcome to our show.
Happy to be here.
So you've been in town for quite a while. You didn't grow up here though?
No, I'm not
No.
a townie, but I sort of feel that it's in
Well,
my...
you are a true townie. I think you've probably photographed every angle or spot in
that's
this
true.
town.
I've been photographing here since, I think, for about 40 years, I guess, since
Oh,
the
wow.
mid-1980s. But
Yeah.
I did grow up in Boston, and gradually I became to love this area. And about 15 years ago, we finally moved here full time, and I'm never going to move again. This is our home.
So you were born in Massachusetts?
Yes, I'm a native of Boston. We
Okay.
lived in the Allston-Brighton area when I was a little kid. When I was entering the third grade, my family moved us to the suburb of Milton,
Okay.
Massachusetts, south of Boston, and I spent the rest of my childhood there. I was active in the band. I was active in the literary magazine. I used to write a lot as well as used to read a lot.
What did you
And
play in the band?
clarinet.
Oh, very nice. So the band and did you take pictures when you were in?
No, I don't know if that's interesting enough. I didn't even own a camera for the first third of my life. I often wish I did because I missed a lot of great photo opportunities during college, but I didn't really get involved in photography till after I got married and started having children and started traveling. And
Yeah.
I began to take photos when we went on family vacations to Maine and Cape Cod, and I think I liked Maine the best. And
yeah.
after a few years, I started showing some of my photos around to friends and family, and they kept telling me my photos look like postcards. And based on that, I showed my photos to people in authority, and they agreed that they were good photos.
Absolutely.
And they started getting published in certain places.
Yeah, yeah. So so after high school, did you stay in the Boston area for school?
Well, I moved across the river to Cambridge. I went to MIT.
Okay.
Yeah.
What'd you study there?
I was in the School of Management, in finance and management. That led to my career in investment management.
Okay.
And we had a great time at MIT.
Wow. So our producer over here also went to MIT. Did you know that?
Do, yeah. A couple of years ahead of me, I think. But.
So where did you meet Margie, your wife?
Well, I met her during my first job after college. I worked in New York City.
Okay.
I was a manager in city government in New York City, and she was set up as a blind date by a young woman who I worked with and who went to college with her. And I guess you could say the blind date worked out pretty well. We're celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary next month.
Congratulations. Oh, that's wonderful. So now you and I have talked about New York City a few times. It's not your favorite place.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Both of our daughters moved there. They have very wonderful lives there with great families and children and husbands, and they both work in the New York City area. But obviously, if I'm passionate about living here in Cape Porpoise and Kennebunkport, I wouldn't be quite as passionate about being in Manhattan, which is so hustle and bustle and loud and
horns,
dirty,
sirens, dirty.
Yeah, so I could do without that. And we probably should visit our children and grandchildren more than we do, but we try to get them to come here as much as possible.
Smart man.
Yeah.
So you finished up there, and then you were here. You've been here permanently.
Yeah.
So taking photographs. I see posts on Facebook. You are out every single day taking pictures. Do you have a favorite place that you like to go? Is it all about the light? What inspires you?
Well, it's all about the light and the conditions. I look out the window when I first get up in the morning and I say, oh, looks like a good day for photos. And I'll go out in the morning or else I'll go back to bed and go check it out later. But my two favorite photos to photograph in the area, there were two. One would be Cape Porpoise Pier to be exact. I love looking out at the boats in the lighthouse, the changing tide. the sunsets, the sunrises, and my other favorite place would be along Ocean Avenue, the rocky coast of Ocean Avenue, particularly the bench area halfway between the Stone House and St. Anne's Church. You'll see me there about at least once a day
Yeah.
throughout the summer and maybe and a lot during other seasons also. And I've been going there for 30 or 40 years. It never gets old. I only get more passionate about it. I love it so much.
We can tell. I mean, your photographs are beautiful.
Well, thank you
And
very much.
I feel like I can just walk right into them. You know, the colors, the capture of color that you, in the fall especially.
Yeah, I love
or
I
the
love it.
tulips out here in
Yeah.
our front garden.
Yeah, that's just the point. I love the area in all
Yeah.
seasons. We're not just summer residents here. I love it here in all seasons. Typically, actually, winter is often my favorite season when we get a lot of snow. But the last 2 winters, we haven't had a lot of snow, so
Yeah.
it's been a little bit frustrating. But
Yeah.
I do my best.
So when you're photographing this area, in the last decade or so, have you seen a lot of change? You know, I think about the storms that we've had lately. You know, have you seen some of when you're out, erosion and, you know, things like that? Have you noticed it with your camera?
Yeah, I don't focus on it. I don't. I guess I look for beauty. I don't look for damage.
Yeah.
But what I like to say and what I say in my writing is that what I love about the area is the timelessness of it. When I go to Cape Porpoise Pier or when I stand in Ocean Avenue, it looks pretty much the same as it did 30 years ago, and it'll probably hopefully look the same when my grandchildren start coming here permanently when they get older. But they certainly, some of the boats that I photographed come and
Yeah.
leave, and new boats come in, and some of the houses I used to photograph many years ago aren't here anymore, but new ones come up. But there's change in every community. But what's great about the community is that it's so well preserved, and
Yeah.
I think the Kennebunkport Conservation Trust, with whom I work closely, has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, your photographs are definitely timeless. You know, I think it really speaks for the images that you capture. I love reflection.
Yeah.
You have a lot of between clouds and the boats in harbor or even in the back bay area here. Sounds like Boston, doesn't it? Over the bridge. You know, the dories, you know, those, it's just beautiful. When you're standing there, do you have to wait for a while?
Yeah, that's probably one of my.
That's a lot of patience.
I'm not the most talented photographer technically. There are more technically talented photographers than me, but what I do have is patience to wait for the perfect reflection. Or when I'm in Ocean Avenue, like I was a couple of days ago, photographing waves breaking along the coast, I'll be there for an hour, half hour waiting for the perfect wave, or taking several perfect waves.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what I do does require patience. Perfect reflections just don't happen automatically. Sometimes they'll be here 1 minute and be gone the next minute, and vice versa. And so patience is indeed one of my virtues.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to take up photography, is there a certain camera that you would recommend for a novice?
No, I think one of the things I feel strongly about is in terms of capturing the beauty of the area. It's not the camera that's important, it's the photographer. I've used Nikon cameras throughout my serious years as a photographer, but I would take the same pictures if I used Canon cameras or Sony or some other camera. So I strongly believe that it's the passion and the interest and the talent of the photographer that's much more important. In fact, I would further say that you can take almost as good pictures these days with iPhones as you can with the $1,000 cameras that some of us walk around with. So it's really the ability to find and compose a good picture that's really important.
Yeah.
And the camera is probably a secondary issue. That's something I feel strongly about and always have.
Good to know. Good to know. Now you're a music lover.
Yeah.
What kinds of music do you like to listen to?
Well, I guess I'm a classic rock fan. My two favorite groups are the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. For obvious reasons, I never got a chance to see the Beatles live. They stopped performing in 1967, I believe. But I've seen the Rolling Stones
When you were first born.
23 times, and I'll be seeing the Stones again in Foxborough next month. Actually, it'll be our 24th Rolling Stones concert.
Oh, wow.
The first one being in 1969 at the Boston Garden.
Have you ever met them?
No, that's been maybe one of the frustrations
All right.
of my life that they've.
We need to make that happen.
Well, if you can, I'll make a generous donation to the library.
That's so great. That's so great.
Yeah.
Any other bands besides those two that you've
Well,
said really
I
good
like
show?
Fleetwood Mac. We've
Yeah.
seen them several times in concert, including on their most recent tour. But I like many classic rock tours. I used to like Steely Dan, but
Yeah.
the Stone. I guess that makes me kind of ordinary, liking the Stones and the Beatles. But those are the groups I grew up with.
Yep.
Obviously, the Beatles don't perform anymore, although some of the individual ones still
Yeah.
do. But amazingly, the Rolling Stones, with Mick and Keith, recently turned 80 years old, but they're still going strong.
They've kept it
They
together.
did a new album last year, and they're going to be performing again starting in a few weeks.
It's amazing, huh?
Yeah.
They and I think that for them, the inspiration for other bands, when you listen to people talk about why they got into music, the Stones are definitely right up there.
Yeah, I have a visceral reaction whenever I hear their song. I want to get up and dance,
Yeah.
which is not a pretty sight, but that's what the music makes me feel.
So, you also, besides being a music lover, you have put together some books. You have a couple of books that are out and about. I know that you did one with Shelley Wigglesworth
Yeah.
about the Noonans.
Yes.
Can you talk about the process, how that came to be?
Well, my friend Shelley, who was really a good friend, I've actually known her for many years, and many different jobs that she's had. What she brought to the book is her knowledge of fishing in the area, her knowledge of lobstering, and what I brought to the table is my ability to photograph.
Yeah.
And Shelley's also an excellent writer, so between my photography and her knowledge of the fishermen and being able to set up photo sheets with the fishermen, we put together a really successful book that sold out. And I still love photographing lobstermen and lobster boats, although I am sort of eccentric because I must admit I don't eat lobster.
Oh, you don't? Oh.
So that's one weird thing about me. I'm sure there's
That's
others
not
also.
weird. That's
but-
not weird. I think there's a lot of people out there. We just assume everybody loves it. But some people can't eat it.
Yeah, I know some of the prominent lobstermen around that don't eat lobster. They told me that.
Oh yeah, they probably are. So tired of it. But it's nice to see that the industry around here is still alive, and people are going out every day. And
Yeah, my basic observation of the lobstermen is that they have challenges in terms of regulation and climate change and others, and the price of lobster. But whenever I go down to the pier and talk to lobstermen, as I've been doing the last several days, they all seem happy and content. They love what they do. That's really my basic observation from getting to know the Noonans personally, and they all love what they do. They get up in the early morning hours, and there's so much more to lobstering than just throwing a trap in the water.
Yeah.
There's lots and lots of preparation of bait and putting together the trap and maintaining the trap, and not to mention the expense involved in the boats. So there's so much more to lobstering than people realize.
it's a tough career. Can really get beat up. So you talked a little. Where is the book for sale? Do you know any stores around?
Well, our Noonan's book is out of print, and we don't expect to do another one. But if you're asking me about my book interests, back in 2017, I worked together with Tom Bradbury to do a book, Reflections, 4 Seasons of Beauty in Kennebunkport. That sold out 2 editions. I'm pleased that proceeds for the book helped the important work of the Conservation Trust, and Tom and I are now at work on an all-new 2nd edition of the book that's going to come out this summer, with all new photos and all new quotations, and I'm hoping the book will be as successful as the first one was.
Oh, that's so great. Well, the first one is beautiful. So the second one, when do you expect it out? Maybe we can have you come in for a book signing.
Sometime in early summer.
Oh, good.
Summer.
Yeah.
We've selected the photos, and Thomas selected the quotations, and we to get together and put everything together. I don't know. I can't say how long that's going to take.
Yeah. Those are they're so great to have around though, and for the people that come in here, that are looking for any visitor that comes in and looking for photographs of the area. Those are our go-tos because it just tells such a story.
Yeah.
So,
Once again, the book has all 4 seasons of Kennebunk
Yep.
Port. It's not just a summer book. It has all
Right.
It has all 4 seasons. If anything, the book probably has more winter photos than it should because that's one of my favorite seasons, along with Christmas Prelude.
Yep.
So the whole year of celebrations of beauty in Kennebunk Port will be presented in this book as was our first edition.
Oh, that's so great. How many pictures a day do you think you take?
Well, I don't have on a good day, maybe 100.
Okay.
On a bad day, 0. But
Yeah.
I don't get up with the mandate that I have to take a certain number of pictures a day.
Yeah.
There's been many days recently that have been no pictures, which is why I've been able to work on the book and look at my new calendar because
Yeah.
there's been no reason to go outside. I love snowstorms, as I said, and we've had very few snowstorms. So I've had a lot of inside days working on my publishing projects,
Yeah.
but I look outside the window and look at the weather, and both in the morning I love to do sunrises. So
Yep.
I don't, and in the evening that's when the best light is, as you know, for
Yeah.
sunrise and sunset, and
Yeah.
it's also when you get off in the best reflections in the early morning and the evening hours when the winds die down and the water looks like glass. So those are my
Right.
favorite times
Yeah.
to go out, but I don't have a mandate to say you have to take a certain number of photos today. What my mandate is if there's something worth photographing, to get out and do it.
And that's like when you talk to authors, they'll usually say, to keep it's just part of their daily routine. You have to you got to write so many words, or just be able to sit down and just keep at it.
Yeah, I always have my camera with
Yep.
me, whether it's my iPhone or my regular camera. So I'm always prepared if I see something
Yeah.
that's unexpected, because
Yeah.
many of my best photos have been unexpected.
That's great. Well, I've seen you at events, and I've seen Margie, and I will say, "Where's Bob?" "Oh, he took off to go take some pictures." So there he goes. There he goes.
No,
It's awesome.
I have a great passion
Yeah.
for what I do, and
Yeah, that's so great.
I don't know.
So back to your family. So you have 2 daughters?
Two daughters, two
daughters,
granddaughters,
yeah.
and each of whom has 2 sons or daughters of their own.
Yeah.
Each of my daughters has a son and a daughter, so we're fortunate to have 4 grandchildren, 4 wonderful grandchildren, and so life has been good, very
That's
rewarding,
great.
and I'm pray
Yeah.
that we stay healthy enough to enjoy our grandchildren for years to come.
Yeah, and hopefully to take them to a Rolling Stones concert.
That is indeed one of my goals. I did have the satisfaction of taking my children to a Rolling Stones concert. I believe it was in the late 80s, early 90s, but now my oldest grandchild will be 9 in the summer. The thought of taking him to a Stones concert is somewhere in my mind.
You should do that. You should do that. I've seen, I'm a big fan of Jimmy Buffett.
Oh, yeah.
And when I would go to the concerts down in Massachusetts, it used to be called Great Woods, then it was that place has had so many names. The beauty of the generation, seeing little kids with their even grandparents going to those concerts, and that's fun when the music can really cross those lines.
Yeah, in fact, I was just looking at a video I took 3 or 4 years ago of my grandson and granddaughter. 2 of them that I put on a tape of the Rolling Stones from my phone, and they were dancing in their living room to the Stones. So it's sort of infectious.
Yeah.
And
That's so great. So now you and Margie like to travel a little bit. Do you? I know you're planning a trip this.
yeah, next month we have plans to go to Venice.
Yeah.
And
For your anniversary.
yes.
So where else have you been that you would say this is a must-do?
Well, I guess the most exciting place, I've been to Sydney, Australia. I've been there, I think, 5 or 6 times. And the main reason I've been fortunate enough to go there all that time is because I have a first cousin who I'm very close to who lives in Sydney, Australia. And so I've had a great reason to get to go over there. We were just there actually 2 years ago this month and had a wonderful time. But thankfully he doesn't live in Bangkok or some ugly city. But Sydney is one of the most beautiful cities you can imagine, with the opera house and the harbour and boats going in and out of the harbor. And it's also a very modern city with beautiful beaches and big buildings. And so I've been to, as I said, Sydney several times, and we went to Paris also last year, and went back to Rome and Florence last November. And but Italy is sort of, you can see why it's such a great tourist mecca for people like me who love history. And there's so much history and so much art in those cities, and I just wish they weren't so far away. Like you go more often.
I know. But good for you for for making plans and going places. That's great. I often joke with a few of the folks here at the library that I get, maybe get as far as Biddeford. That's about it. So maybe when I retire, I will think about exploring the world.
There's so many places to see. I'm sure at some point in my life I'll probably regret not traveling more, but as I said to you before, I'm passionate about this area. In the winter, I don't want to miss a snowstorm, and in the spring, I don't want to miss tulips coming up. And obviously, we never travel anywhere to Europe in the summer, and we even timed our trip to Rome last fall, so I wouldn't miss the fall foliage here. So I'm very passionate about all the seasons here. So whatever traveling I do has to coincide with my love of all the seasons and all the beautiful things we have here in Kennebunkport and Cape Porpoise.
Well, we appreciate your work. We appreciate your passion for what you do, because, through your eye, we get to see so many beautiful spots in the area. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for what you do. And one of the great things about Kennebunkport is the library here, and I'm happy to be a supporter of it, but even more happy to be a user of it. It's great to come in here, and I've always had a passion for reading, and that's still continuing. So when I'm not photographing, I'm often reading.
Yes, yes. And you're so, you've been so generous to us with our community art show. Any photograph that sells of yours, you donate all of it to the library, which we are really grateful. So, are you in galleries here?
Well, my photos
in
can
town,
be seen in a number
besides
of
our
places.
gallery.
Yeah, my photos are shown at a number of places, including Federal Jack's restaurant, Allison's restaurant, the Donantum, and actually
good.
they were also shown last year and will be again this year at the Main Art Gallery on Chase
great.
Hill. So people sometimes ask me whether I want my own gallery. I said no, I wouldn't want to have to stay inside all day. Nor would I want to hire anybody else to do it. Nor is my photos necessarily worthy of having my own gallery. But I'm pleased that a number of businesses here, businesses that I love working with, and
that's great.
Have asked me to show some of my photos within on their walls.
Now, do you frame your own work?
No, I use a couple of local framers.
Okay. Because that I would think would be very time consuming. Also.
Well, depending on the size of it. And I use a couple of local framers. And I do what I'm good at, and they do what they're good at.
Very good, very good. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and being on our show. Keep taking those photos. We just love seeing them. We wish you all the best. Happy anniversary, and have a great trip when you hit the road next month.
Well, thank you very much, and I wish you continued success and accomplishment in your job. You do a fabulous job, and
thank you, Bob.
So great to be associated with this library, and thank you for having me.
Well, thanks, and thank you all for tuning in, and we hope to see you right back here next time for another episode of What's Your Story?